I have just finished adding a chords track for my entire song called Choices here in Logic Pro for iPad 2, and I learned a few things along the way. So in this video, I'm going to share those with you and get you up to speed with using a chords track on your existing projects. Let's go. The chords track was added as a new global track here in Logic Pro for iPad 2, primarily to help things like session instruments play along with the rest of your project. I've already showed the basics of using the chords track, such as adding and editing chords, grouping and ungrouping, using your chords progression, and using with your session players. So if you're brand new to this, check out the other video linked up there and in the description first. Because in this one, as you can see, we're taking our chords to the next level, and I'm going to show you how I did this and created an entire chords track for an existing Logic Pro project. So we can start from scratch. Let's delete the chords that I've already added here. So I'm going to tap the multi-select. I'm going to select all of these chords and we're going to delete the whole lot. They're all selected. We tap on one, we tap again, we hit delete. And yes, we're back to scratch. So this is what it will look like for you when you're starting out. If the chords track is not displayed, you'll need to hit the drop down arrow here. Now, by default, it'll usually show the chords track, but if you need to change that, you can tap on these three dots and go to customize global tracks. From here, we can show a single track, either the chords or one of these others, or multiple tracks. So I'm going to turn that off because I would actually also like to have the marker and the time signature added here because this has already been set up. I've already got markers in here for my intros and verses, and this song actually has multiple time signatures. So this is going to give me a little bit of guidance when I'm adding my chords in. Let's add our first chord. I'm going to zoom in a little bit by grabbing two fingers and just spreading those apart here on the screen and coming to the very start. Now this first section is a lead in, so we don't need a chord for there. We're going to tap here and put our playhead right here, and you can see this is where our song is starting. To add the first chord, we tap on the add chord button here. Now, because I wrote and recorded this song, I happen to know it's in D. So I'm going to tap on D on my keyboard here or on the on-screen keyboard if you're not using a keyboard, and hit enter or return. And there you go. It's added a D chord for that first section. Let's hit play, or you can hit the space bar if you've got a keyboard, and listen to the track and see how long this D chord actually lasts for. Now, I happen to know that it goes all the way through here till we get to our first verse. So it's actually put it in for the right amount, just out of pure luck here. So let's move on now and add our chords in for our verse. Once again, we're going to hit the plus button here to add a chord. And this time it actually moves up to an F. So the verse happens to be F, G, and then back to D. So we're going to tap on F, and again hit enter, and it's added F for that whole section. Let's tap off and again hit play and listen and find out where the chord change is. So it's just one bar this time. So what we need to do is put our playhead there on that bar 11. And this is where it gets a little bit more complicated, but stay with me. It's easy enough. Hit the plus button again, and it overwrites that with our next chord. And now all we need to do is hit G and tap off. And now we've got our G there. Once again, hit play to keep listening to your track. There you go. It goes back to the D here on this next bar. So again, we line ourselves up, we hit the plus button and we hit D and then enter. And now we've got a D chord there. We hit play again. And there you can hear that it actually goes back to the D. So it goes back to the F, sorry. It goes to the F, and then it goes to the G, and then it goes to the D again. I just know that because I wrote the song again. So we'll come here, and here where it's got the D, we want to go back to an F. So we hit the plus, we hit F, or again, if you're not using a keyboard, you can just tap on here and tap on F, and then tap out, and then we know it goes to G again. So we go there, we hit that plus button, we go to G, and then we go back to D for the remainder of this progression. And see how it's building a progression here for us? Let's hit the plus button again and go D and tap out. And it has created a progression. It's automatically grouped this progression here for us. Let's just see how long this D goes for, because I've got a feeling it goes all the way through to our next verse. It does. So that's handy. So what we can do is just grab this N handle and drag it and put it right there. and it's kept all of that grouped together. Now, why is that handy? Because we can reuse it. I happen to know that verse number 2 here uses the exact same chord progression as verse number 1. So you don't have to do it over and over again. If your song uses repeated chords, you can copy and paste them. How do you do it? Let's take a look. So to move this to this next section, there's a couple of ways to do it. We can tap on this one, tap again, and then go copy. And then with our playhead at the space we want it, just tap in this blank space, tap again, and tap paste at playhead. And it's going to paste that into that next section. So if we want to do a quick test here, we can tap here and hit the space bar. F, G, D. Looks good. Looks like what we want it to be. So that's pretty handy, right? We can use the original chords and then just copy and paste them across for our next section. Before we add our bridge, I'm going to give you a bonus tip, and that is to use the piano session player as a way of making sure we've got the right chords in here. If you're not sure about the chords or you want to make sure you've got them right. So to do that, we're going to hit the plus button in the top left here. Under session player, we are going to add a keyboard player, and we're going to tap on that one to open it up. Now, what I would recommend is using something like just the block chords here, just so that we can hear the chords that are actually being played. So select block chords there, and now let's set up this piano player. So we're going to scroll over here to the start. Now, what I like to do is bring this all the way up to the top. So I'm going to tap and hold and drag to bring this one and make it my second one here right under the drums, just so that I can see it here as we're going. Now I'm going to scroll over to here, tap and hold on this one and drag it until it comes just across to the start where we're actually playing. And then I'm going to zoom back out and I'm going to grab the end handles here. And we don't really have to worry about different sections. We're just going to make this go all the way to the end of our project. The idea here is we're going to have a piano track that's going to be playing along with these chords. Now, I'll just do some quick adjustments here. We don't want any fills. We don't need any complexity here. We're just going to play the full chord on the root note so that we can make sure that this is working. Let's just do a quick test by coming here to our verse 2 and letting this piano play along with the rest of our track. Yeah, it's worked, right? Except here's the thing. I've worked out that I've put D chords where it needed to be D minor chords. And that's why this is such a cool technique, because sometimes it's not until you hear the full chord playing that you realize you got it wrong. So for instance, if we play here, listen to the piano compared to the rest of the track. Definitely needs to be a D minor there. No problem, we can adjust that. Let's show you how to do it. Now our first chord here is going to be easy. We just tap it, tap again, and go to edit chord. And here where it's got major, we hit minor. But what about these ones where they're actually grouped together? Well, no problem. As you can see there, you can actually tap there and just tap on the individual chords and still change them. So with the edit chord selected, it makes it quick and easy to change these, even if they're within a progression already. Let's come back and listen again and see if this is going to sound better with our D minor. Not bad. In honesty, it's probably somewhere between a D minor and a D. It's more of a power chord anyway. It's probably a D5 if I'm honest, but we can adjust that as we go. Oh, one more quick tip before we move on. You may have noticed if you've tried to edit chords within a group like this, if you tap on them, you have to ungroup them before you can edit. Or if you've got an individual chord, you can tap this one, tap again, go to edit chord, and then tap on this one here, and then you can adjust it. So if I did want to make this a sus2, which is probably more what it is, or a fifth chord, I can actually do it that way as well. Let's take it to the bridge. We're going to scroll across here and come to this bridge section. You can see how handy the markers are here for me to set this up. I can see exactly where each section starts here. So markers, a cool idea. If you haven't used them before, check them out. Video in the description. Let's add another chord here. We'll just hit play first. So what's this doing? This is doing like a D, 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 F, G, G sharp. So this is going to be an interesting one to do. So we can add the chord here by hitting the plus button here. Now you've probably noticed that we've got this little thing here. So if we actually go D, if we want to hear what that sounds like, we can actually tap on the preview. So if with this one, maybe we will go a sus2 on this one. No, it's more like the minor. It's more like the minor or even just the fifth. Yeah, let's go with the fifth. We'll go with the D5 because I think it's more of a D5 chord here that we need to use. So let's go with the D5. How long does it go with that one? Let's hit the play button. So it goes 2 bars, and then within this 1 bar, it goes up, and you can see we're in this 3/8 time signature here, which is interesting. So we'll drag this one back, and now we have to do something a bit funky. We have to zoom in, and we have to add 3 really quick chords in succession here. So it's in the D there. It's going to jump up to the F, so we hit the plus, and we tap on F down here. Hit the F button, and that's going to add an F. Now, we don't have to actually go and keep dragging it back. All we need to do is actually go to the next place that we need it, and then we can add another chord by hitting the add button here, and then hit G. And you can see how quick this becomes. Hit enter, come to the next section here, hit the add button, and then this time we need a G, but we need it to be a G sharp. So we're going to tap here where it's got the root note and go G sharp. And then we can come to this final one and hit the add again there. And what I'm going to do is tap out of here and get rid of the chords there and just delete out the rest of this. Except we've got a problem here. What's the problem? It's created a grouped chord. So we will actually need to, instead of deleting it, just grab this one, grab the end, and bring it all the way back here. So we've got this nice little tight grouping here of this F, G, sharp. No, we need the D, don't we? We need the D, and then the F, G, and G sharp. So how do we group those back together if it's ungrouped them? Well, that's easy. We tap on this button here to do our multi-select. We've got that selected, turn multi-select off, tap again, and go group chords. And now it creates this little progression. Let's listen and make sure that this bridge progression is going to sound right. Yeah, not bad. Technically, it's probably not actually F, G, and G sharp here, because what you'll probably hear in the bass is it actually hangs out on the D. Even though the guitar plays that little F, G, G sharp bit, if you listen to the bass here, and we play along, we'll solo this bass. Okay, now the bass does go up. Okay, we'll go with it for now. We can adjust this as we go. And that's the thing. Nothing is set in stone here. I'm going to get things wrong. Mistakes do indeed make you better. But the cool thing is that this progression all the way through the bridge does the same thing over and over again. You're probably ahead of me. We can use copy and paste, or we can use another function, which is this one here. If we tap that on, and then we tap and drag, see how it creates a clone of this? This is a really quick way. Instead of using your copy and paste, this is a quick way of doing this. And can you see that the piano track we've created there is following along with us? Isn't that cool? Yeah, I don't know. I like things like this. So let's just make sure that this is working the way we intended before we do the whole lot. So to play here. Yes, it's looking cool. So we'll come back to here and we will use this same method, drag across. And of course you could make these progressions bigger, but I like leaving them in little chunks like this to make them kind of more portable. So we know that that's the progression that goes all the way through to there. And then we get back to another verse here. So if we just play through to this verse, let's just make sure everything's working. We're back to a verse. Guess what? We've already done a verse. In fact, we've done it twice. So all we need to do is come back here to our verse. We'll turn off that this time. We'll use the copy paste because we're moving it to a different location. So we'll tap it. We'll go copy. We'll scroll on down. We'll come to this section here. Zoom in and make sure your playhead is right at the right spot. Tap again, and paste at playhead. And there you go. Oh, that hasn't quite worked, has it? Did we paste it at the wrong spot somewhere? Something's gone awry here. Something's not on the grid marker. What have we done wrong? Let's come down here and check it out. D, D, D. It's just not gone all the way. It should be okay because it's going further. I think it's because it's going further on this particular one. Or no, it's going into the bridge. That's right. So this goes into the bridge here, so we won't need this final D. Let's listen to this verse because it cuts off here at the bridge. It doesn't go back to the D this time around. So let's play this. Back to the F. this is where it goes to the second bridge. So all we need to do with this one is grab this end handle and drag it back. And the reason it wasn't lining up is, guess what? We got another time signature change. Now, this second bridge is what I was confusing the other bridge for. This is where it does just hang out on a D chord throughout here. So this is going to be pretty simple. If we listen to the bass in this section, let's just hit the play button. Even though the guitar's playing another thing, the bass is just hanging out there on the D for this entire section. So this one's going to be pretty simple because all we need to do is hit the plus button here and make this a D. We'll make it the D5, shall we? Or we'll do the D suspended too, just to see how that sounds. We can experiment with this stuff as we go. And that's going to do that through that whole section. So we'll just grab this and grab the end and go all the way to our outro, because I believe it's doing it all the way through to here. No, it changes up there. Okay, I thought there was a spot that it changed. So here's where it's doing the... There's the spot we need to change. So this is where it needs to change. So what we'll do is we'll drag it back from the end there, pop it in the spot. You do find it gets a bit clunky. I'm not going to lie and say the chords track is not a bit clunky sometimes. So now we need to do this lowering progression. So this is going to go from a C down to a, I think it's a C, no, D, C, B, B flat. So we'll add these in here and we'll use those chords again to make sure it's going to sound right. So we'll hit the plus button here. So it's going to start with our D. So we'll go back to our D and make it a minor. So let's hit play. And then we're going to start going down, stepping down here in the progression. So we'll hit the plus button here. So it's going for a D, and then it should be a C. So D, C, and then our next chord, if we hit the plus button here, is going to go down to a B. So if we go to the root note and we go B. And then our final is going to be a B flat. You can tell Pete's not a big theory guy here. Someone's going to correct me and they're going to say, well, actually, that chord you played should have been a B flat minor diminished 7.5. In which case, please do. Please comment, let me know. Here's our last chord. So I think some of these probably need to be minors. This is the problem when you're a guitar player and you're playing power chords. You don't really think about majors and minors too much. But I think that's pretty good. That's at least going to give us the right sort of stuff. Let's play along and see what this is going to do with our piano part in here. So I think that B definitely needs to be a minor, doesn't it? So again, without ungrouping the chords, if we go to a regular chord here and we tap, we go edit chords, we can actually tap over here and change this B to a B minor here, which I think will sound a little better if we play. Sounds good. And the good news here now, these chords are used for the rest of our track. So what can we do? Well, we can either use our copy and paste like we did before, or we can use this button here, the handy dandy make it copy itself button. So we'll drag this across here and we'll drag it across, and right up to the outro is where it does this little chord progression. So it should go one more time. Yep. And then it'll line up here, right here on the outro. And at the outro section, so that's where it goes to a D. So it just sits here and hangs out on a D here at the end, which, as we've discovered, is probably a D minor chord. So let's just play this again. This is really putting the session players to work too with all of these time signature changes. So I'm pretty happy with that. You can see we've got our chord progression put in there. Does it take a bit of getting used to? Yeah, but once you get the hang of it and you realize and you're better at chords than I am and you know what chords you're putting in there, it actually is pretty simple and works pretty well. And once it's in there, you do this once and then you can use it with your different session players, which I'm going to cover in a video in just a little while. So make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to show you how we can maybe replace my bass playing with a session bass player using the chords that we've just added in here. Finally, to give you a little sneak peek at why you would bother doing all of this and adding these chords in, we can do some cool remixes and new versions of old songs. Take a listen to this song with just my vocal, a piano, and a session bass player. There you have it, chords here in Logic Pro for iPad 2. Are they super simple and intuitive? Not really, but a little bit of effort and you can get yourself a great chords track. And like I say, once you've done it once, it's there for the project for the rest of history. So if you've got any questions or comments about this or anything else related to Logic Pro for iPad, drop that down in the comments below. More videos down there to help get you up to speed, and I'll see you next time.